Welcome back to Spoiler Warning. Today's episode, we are covering Absolute Superman issue number 1. Absolute Superman, it's a bit different than what I was expecting. Um, but there's some good, there's some bad, there's some Payson, there's some Lazarus. We'll get into that. I don't know why I did that, but we'll get into it. Spoilers ahead. So Absolute Superman starts off with telling you, it starts with narrations about Krypton. I personally am never too fond of when they focus too much on Krypton because I'm like, the planet blew up. I don't care. It does set up things pretty interesting in the fact that in this universe, we have um, the Science Guild, and then the Labor Guild. So, and there's other different guilds, but the Science Guild is the highest guild, and the Labor Guild is the lowest. And so, the system in Krypton is very classist. Interesting is the Labor Guild symbol is would normally be the L family crest, which is Superman's symbol, is the symbol of the Labor Guild, which is the S, because they are the people of steel. Part of how classes they are is they make you wear your symbol so everybody knows what status you are. And so you have regular people wearing like the S, or for the Science Guild, a symbol that looks like the sun, and such as that. So we see as it establishes the guilds, we see Lara L. We see Lara L, who is an engineer, and she's fixing a tractor or basic for just one of her neighbors. She's of the Labor Guild, fixing tractor, and how that this man has paid for rain, but it's hasn't come, and they're out in the Redlands, which is like the farmlands. It's not very prosperous there, but it's a lot of the laborers, or not all, but a lot of the laborers live out there. So you get to see how technical minded and how caring Lara L is, which is interesting to see. We also see Jor-El, who is a miner who is exploring a mine and had stopped because he's leading a group, and he's stopped because he's noticing fractures. And so there's issues in the cave. But then you have some dumbass who's like, see the symbol on my chest, see the symbol on your chest, just do what I said while you stop in labor. And as the narrator is explaining, Jor-El's right. The cave collapses as toxic gas is released, and they have to rush out. Something is wrong with the planet. Krypton is dying, as it is in normal universes. But instead of it just dying, then we go to present day Brazil, and we see miners who are working for the Lazarus Corporation. They're not being treated well. They're not being paid well. They're being exploited. So they come, and the people monitoring them are peacemakers, as in like Christopher Smith Peacemaker, except that seems to be more a title for the hired soldiers, or the soldiers that work for Lazarus Corporation. And so they all look like Peacemaker, it looks like. The miners go in, and they had recently had issues where through their very unsafe mining had gotten to a pocket of asbestos that was released. So they were given $300 hazard pay bonus, which is more than a month's pay, which is also insane because they also have no safety equipment. So this is not a corp. This is just exploitation. What's interesting is when they go into the mine, the diamonds have already been crushed and are piled in carts, and the asbestos is gone. So they come in, they just leave with the diamonds, and they're one of the workers. I believe his name is Zhao. I don't think I'm pronouncing it correctly. Encounters a young man who's just in blue and a red hoodie, very mumbly, who's Zhao offers him, like, he's like, hey, come celebrate with us. And he's like, no, there's more work to be done. I've seen the wonders of your world. And I was like, huh? I was like, your world? I was like, this also implies, because I'm pretty sure this is Kal-El Superman. But what's interesting is him saying the wonders of your world, and that he no longer has a name because he asked what Josh was his name is, and he's like, "Oh, I no longer name." I was like, this very much imply like he's more aware of Krypton than in previous versions of Superman. So he leaves. They try to solve. The Peacemakers are like, "Hey, you guys didn't do all this work. What's happening?" And so they start attacking the people, and eventually, they start attacking the people, and eventually they find where Superman is through they're attacking the camp, and something called Soul is telling Superman to wake up, and he's narrating how because he's been narrating this whole time how he should have left, but his son starved because he was just regenerating. And he should have left, but honestly, maybe it's a good thing he didn't leave because he's been watching all over the world as he's gone to different mines, the desert, oceans, and seeing how and it's always Lazarus Corp and how they treat people. And so he's like, I'm tired of just watching this happen. So he starts fighting back. Superman does his thing, easily beating the Peacemakers as Superman battles the Peacemakers. It seems that he's not fully in control of his abilities. So this is a young and newer Superman because at some point he tells Soul, shut me down because he goes overboard. So it's interesting to see that this is not necessarily as a refined Superman, even in his early years. So it's like, I don't know how long he's been Superman. So that's interesting to see. There's a specific agent who's looking at stuff because they're sort of aware of Superman. They don't know his face. They know the symbol on his chest and have some details about his suit possibly being intelligent. Um, One agent comes and eventually handcuffs Superman, who reveals himself to be Agent Lane. So this is absolute Lois Lane. From there, we see it go back to Krypton for a moment, where Jor-El's talking with Laura and how Krypton is dying, and then he has this moment, "Where's Kal-El?" And then we see Kal-El as not an infant for once, but he's with Crypto, and he's maybe like 8 years old, maybe 8, or presumably around 14. So this is an older Clark who's actually lived on Krypton, which is very different from what we're used to. The issue ends there. It does spend like a third of the time on Krypton, focusing on just the classes and establishing themselves. So the pacing is much slower than um, Absolute Batman's first issue was. What I find interesting there too is because it felt like, in my opinion, they could have condensed the part with Krypton a little bit, and then at least the confrontation with Lazarus or the Peacemakers could have finished in that issue. Because as where it ends, it's in the middle of that conflict. See, with the Lazarus Corp and everything, and so as we see that and that confrontation with the Peacemakers, it's still continuing. Um, so it'd be interesting to see how that concludes and what's going on. I will say that overall, I didn't care for the pacing, so at least in issue one. We'll see how issue two is and how this continues. So check out my Absolute Superman issue 2 or any of the Absolute Batman or Absolute Wonder Woman videos. Yeah, hope you guys enjoy watching. Thanks. See you.